Hello, good evening. Hi everyone. How are the hi-fi people doing today? We have another one. Hope it doesn't get too long. But today I want to speak a little bit about the Tascam 122 Mark III cassette deck. Turning it into input just to show you the levels from the instrumental music in the background. Tascam 122 Mark III. This was built in 1993. The original Tascam 122 was released in 1980. It was improved to the Mark II version in 1987. And what Tascam did in 1993 is the main upgrade on this deck was what they called the hysteresis tension control. This was for optimizing tape handling capabilities of this deck. This was in 1993 the Tascam's industry standard professional studio tape deck. And for many reasons, it was an industry standard. This was not designed for home use. This was purely a professional studio tape deck. And it used to be very regularly used in studios for production and broadcasting purposes. Many years ago, I managed to get my hands on one of these and heard a lot about it, did a lot of research about it, wondered what can this cassette deck do that others cannot do. I mean, end of the day, it takes a cassette. There's no other utility except for playing and recording a cassette. So why Tascam 122 Mark III? Why industry standard professional studio tape deck? Why all these colorful tags and awards or recognition to this cassette deck? Let me just go through a few of the features and then I'll show you some of the features as a demo. Again, like in every video, I can't just play and record music for copyright reasons, but this is unlike a regular cassette deck. This has a direct drive capstan motor on it. I mean, these features, like a direct drive capstan motor, you will find on open reel-to-reels. You will find on turntables, which is the example I gave in my previous video, a fully automatic direct drive turntable, yes. Open reel-to-reels, yes. Cassette decks, very rare because of the cost, because of the engineering, and for the home use, you don't really need such a robust machine to play and record cassette tapes. But Tascam in 1993, they sort of changed the game, upgraded their cassette deck, and they threw in a direct drive option. This machine has precision, left and right level controls. These are not just potentiometers like in every deck. These are very precise left and right channel VU meter controls with peak LEDs. Those are those peaks. Those LEDs are telling you where it's peaking. Now, like on a reel-to-reel, you can really record hot. You can record in the red zone. You can take it plus 3 dB and the sound does not distort. Because of the tape, because of the mechanism, because of the head quality or heads quality, playback and record, the same they have done with this. They have optimized a cassette deck in 1993 and they've thrown in these pro features, I'd say. This system of controlling independently your levels, if you see here, this is a gear and a clutch system. It's a gear and clutch coupled input controls. I mean, it sounds like a car, a manual car. But yes, they've introduced gear, clutch, coupled it, and attached it to the input controls for precise recording level and easy level setting. You'll see here adjust, you'll see here OSC, which is the oscillator. You'll see a 10 kilohertz tone. These features are basically required in a professional studio, and before this deck was made, they had an external unit. It was called an oscillator. It had the 10 kilohertz tone in it. It had the adjustment option. And for recording in the studio, they used to calibrate their decks with an external oscillator. They used to adjust their decks. They used to give it a 10 kilohertz tone and adjust the recording levels, the bias levels for various tapes, all before recording the actual material on the tape. Those settings were done before recording on a tape. When it was done, test tone given, 10 kilohertz tone given, oscillator set, adjustments calibrated, only then they used to go into record mode. It was time consuming back then, before this deck was made. It wasn't an easy task in the studios. For best quality recording, they had to do it. It was a studio after all. It's not you and I listening to music on a cassette at home. 3 heads, yes, of course 3 heads, but this one has cobalt amorphous formula built in to the heads. It was Tascam's Pro Edition for a very long life head mechanism. Up here is usually a Tascam 32 open reel-to-reel semi-pro cassette, open reel, semi-pro reel-to-reel. It's been removed from here because it needs a capstan motor which is on its way. But the reason why I'm mentioning that is that this machine was built just as good as their pro or semi-pro open reel-to-reels were. It was not just a cassette deck to buy and take home. It was not designed for home use. I have it for my love of cassette deck, for my love of tape, for my love of analog, for my love of being able to differentiate recording on this deck and recording on the decks down below, which are 3-head decks as well, consumer cassette decks. This one isn't a consumer cassette deck, and I only use it for chrome type 2 or metal. not for a normal tape, because this deck can do magic with chrome. Cobalt, amorphous Tascam's Pro Edition to the deck with a long life. Similar heads were on there, reel to reel, which is not here, but that level of heads were incorporated in their decks. It has the lowest wow and flutter, which is interference, electric interference in the tape path, in the guides, at a recording level, at a playback level. You don't want any interference. This machine has it at the lowest level. Dolby B, Dolby C, yes, it's there. Do I need it? Like on a reel-to-reel, I'm putting my hand here because this is the this is where my reel-to-reel is housed. Like a reel-to-reel, you don't really need a noise reduction. Same is the case with this guy. It has Dolby B, Dolby C. I really don't need it. It's that good for a recording machine. As good as a reel-to-reel made by Tascam. As good as any reel-to-reel made by a reputable company. MPX filter, yes, it is there. On, off. What was this used for? In studios when they were recording on tape from the radio, from FM frequency, there was a particular noise coming in to the signal path, and MPX filter was a feature which eliminated that particular noise coming from a radio frequency modulation onto the tape. So you will find MPX filter on many cassette decks. I've personally tried recording on consumer cassette decks from a tuner onto tape with MPX filter on and off, and on the consumer decks, my ears have not caught any improvement in eliminating noise. But on this deck, I've done recording from a tuner onto tape, on a chrome tape, and I've switched between MPX on and MPX off, and it's like night and day. So the MPX filter here was a serious filter. It was not just, sorry to say, but not just a button that the Japanese put on home consumer three-head machines with very inferior internals, even back in the 80s and 90s. I've got those decks, I can do comparisons, and I don't see the need of an MPX filter button on other decks except for this guy. This deck offers a pitch control, like on a reel-to-reel you'll see. You can control by 12% plus minus the speed of recording where necessary. To be honest, I keep it off. I haven't felt the need of increasing or decreasing the pitch of music from a CD, from a tuner, from a turntable, from a streamer, from YouTube, from wherever the source is coming in. I have not used it. Why do they have it? They have it on the Tascam reel-to-reel. They have it here as well. Must be something to do with mixed recording, mixed tape recording, multiple signals going in at studio level. They might be wanting to adjust the pitch in a studio environment, but for home use I cannot find the need to use it. It has a headphone output control, which is basically another volume in your hand. And this output is also a nice option to have. You can control the output of the deck as if you're controlling it from your preamplifier or your integrated amplifier from the main volume. You turn up your preamplifier or main integrated amplifier volume, you can still have control over the output only from the tape. Your other sources will of course not have that control because they don't have this option. They've given this option here also. 19 inches width, including rack mountable, they call it rack ears. It's a rack mount chassis, you can say, with rack ears on it. These guys, they go into racks in a studio environment. Of course, my rack is custom built and not for rack ears, so they're just there. Just to give you another example of the quality, the build quality of this. And I note this in all vintage equipment. Although this is not 50 years old, this is what, 30 years old? It's 1993. We're in 2024. 31 years old. But this weighs a solid 9 kilograms. That's about what, 20 pounds? That is heavy for a cassette deck. The entire body is metal. The front is faceplate is metal. The motors are heavy. The gears are heavy. It has a very, very heavy build quality. Everything inside is heavy. Because it's direct drive, it doesn't have a belt. I'll try to make you listen to how does it sound when you press play. If you can catch this in the mic. See, that stop is different and that play is different. This is basically the build quality that it's telling you about. Amazing. I can just keep wondering how much they put into this. Obviously, for a studio, they had to. These machines have been running in studios for 20 hours non-stop? I don't know. 30 hours non-stop? I don't know how it was used in a studio. End of the day, it's a cassette. It runs at 1 7/8 inches per second, which is a standard compact cassette deck record and play speed. Unlike a reel-to-reel, which is 3 1/4, 7 1/2, and 15 IPS, even 30 IPS, which is inches per second. But the ones I have are 4-track 7 1/2 inch per second and 2-track 15 inch per second. Now this is a standard 4-track 2-channel 1 7/8 inches per second speed, but because of the features, because of the build quality, I've recorded on this deck and I've recorded on decks below this in the same rack, which I'll show you in separate videos. But this does do remarkably better recording. Remarkably better recording. This guy, going to input, getting the input level in here. This guy does recording level as good or better than the source. It gives you that quality like when you record from a turntable onto a 2-track reel-to-reel at 15 inches per second and you play your tape on the reel-to-reel, it sounds better than your turntable. This is the feeling that the ears get when you record on this from a CD, from a radio, from YouTube, from another deck, from any source, anything going in the input. You record on this and you play it back. It's going to sound better than the source. And this is what I salute to. That this quality I've seen in reel to reels. But on the Tascam 122 Mark III, you get this satisfaction that you can have optimum quality of recording. No belt, direct drive. Wow, what have they done with the cassette deck? This hysteresis tension control, which is handling the tape path and the tape guides without any belt, without rubber, all metal, all gears, all clutch coupled. The engineering behind this is superior, and all that put together is giving significantly better results than any other 3-head deck. The deck also came with an optional accessory called the RC134, which was a wired remote control. There's a port on the back of this. It's like a SCART port, which you might be recalling. It used to be behind television sets. It used to be behind the Atari video game. It used to be behind some computers, I think Commodore computer or something. It was a SCART port on the back of some devices. This guy has that port, similar to that port, where it has the option to connect a wired remote control. I don't have it. I've seen it on eBay, I've seen it on YouTube. It would be nice to have, but they're selling for ridiculous prices, so I'm not bothered. What else can I demonstrate? Let me try to demonstrate a bit of the functions physically. We're in the input mode, YouTube is playing instrumental music, and the levels are coming in. Auto, this shuts down the input. I'm turning off the volume just to show you play mode. You can see the needles dancing based on whatever is recorded on the tape. Again, because of YouTube copyrights, I'm not playing it. What I would like to show you here is adjust, oscillate, 10 kilohertz. These three features adjust the bias independently left and right, adjust the levels independently left and right. Now these three features with these small controls at the bottom, there used to be a separate device for this. You can still find 3-head decks with bias control. Yes, they have bias, they have level control, they have bias control, but they don't have a full control like this. You cannot switch to adjust, put a tape, press record, set the bias, set the levels. You cannot. Okay, I need to press record to, let me see if I can demonstrate that. Okay. Why can't I demonstrate that? Okay, I can't demonstrate that, but adjusting the levels, oscillator, 10 kilohertz test tone, separate units were used. Here you've got them built into this deck. The RTZ is a return to zero feature. I press rewind. Let me reset this. Forward. Return to zero feature. In the middle of the tape, you pressed reset. You want to go back there. You go to rewind. What's going to happen on 0? Okay, it wasn't on. There you go. Return to 0 is going to take this to almost 0. A neat feature. You find it on reel to reel. You don't find it on a cassette deck. Play. The counter has started. Location 1, location 2. What this does is, you have the option within the tape, you have the option to mark a location, mark 2 locations basically. I go to location 1 at 26. Let it play, just to give you an example of what's happening. And while it's playing, press location 1. It stops at location 1. Play. We went up to 26 or 30. Let it carry on again. It's like a return to 0, but it's not banking on the 0 reset. It's banking on where did you use location 1. I used it on 22. Similarly, you have location 2 option. So within a tape, the amazing feature is you have a 90 minutes tape, you're 10 minutes through, you pressed reset, you pressed return to 0 option, it went back to 0. You've played it for another 20 minutes. At some point of the tape, you want to remember a song. You engage location 1. You listen to the music for another 20 minutes and you pressed location 1 and it goes back to that particular location. You press return to 0, it goes to 0. You press location 2, it will go to location 2. Now these are not common features, my friends. These are interesting features to have. Do I use them much? No, I don't. It's a professional feature. Again, like the pitch control, these return to zeros, location 1, location 2, back in the day must have been something important. For me, the important part is there's no belt. It's motor driven, direct drive driven, heavy metal, 9 kilograms, 20 pounds of weight. Features, unbelievable. Recording quality, as good as a reel to reel, despite the tape running at 1 7/8 inches per second. So that wraps up the information that I know about my Tascam 122MKIII, professional, industry standard, studio quality recording tape deck. Nice to have at home. Is it a must-have in a cassette deck? Not at all. Is it a must-have to be able to differentiate what does a consumer 3-head cassette deck do in terms of recording and playback, as opposed to what can a studio professional cassette deck do recording at the same speed, playing at the same speed, but sounding better. There you go. This is where the Tascam 122MKIII kicks in. Rarely do I mess around with it. It's a high quality, serious professional deck. I treat this with ultimate care. I don't misuse it. I don't abuse it. I don't let it running just like that. I enjoy it when I am in the mood to record my favorite songs and make a mixtape. Yes, pull out a nice chrome tape, play your records, have them lined up and do your recording, and then listen to them back on the deck, and they sound just better than the record. Amazing. That's what this analog recording is all about. If you can optimize your recording quality on tape, it's going to sound better than the source, regardless if it was a record, CD, YouTube, streamer, your mobile phone, whatever the source. When it's precisely professionally recorded on tape, or a good tape, with a good tape machine, you get fantastic results. Thanks folks, hope you like this one. Again, like I say in every video, anything else you know about this deck that I have not mentioned, that I don't know about, I'll be all eyes and ears to hear from you, to learn more about these vintage machines. Do drop in some comments if you can. Do like it if you like it. Do dislike it if you dislike it. Do subscribe if you can. I want you people to see my gear one by one, and hardly get time on my hands, but I am trying to upload a few more videos. My friend Matt, which I mentioned in the last video, has really encouraged me to sort of showcase what I have in my system, and I'm kind of geared up to do that. Thanks, take care, and bye for now.